Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Adam Korga, systems analyst, author with over 20 years of experience in IT. And his mission, as it says, uh, his mission is through the honest analysis and failure, providing a necessary voice of reason. That's what he calls himself, and we'll learn with a healthy dose of cynicism. So we'll learn from him about the hidden complexities of modern systems, the real reason digital transformations fail, and how to think more clearly about the technology shaping our world. Welcome to the show, Adam.
Hello, I'm happy to be here. Welcome.
You're welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Adam. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about systems, we'll talk about failure, and we'll talk about human error in all these things. So we'll talk about all this, but before that, let's talk a bit about your journey, your background, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Okay, so I'm IT specialist. I work almost 20 years in IT in various roles, mostly in so-called backend. So basically, I'm building the stuff people don't see, but will complain when they stop working. I worked as an individual contributor, so basically engineer. I also worked as a technical lead, managing people in various scale of organizations, from one-man army as a freelancer through some small software houses, ending with global corporations with tens of thousands of people. So I've seen a lot, I experienced maybe too much, and now I'm trying to make sense of it, let's say.
Absolutely. So I want to understand what is it that you are trying to tell the world with what you do, Adam?
So I'd like to, most importantly, I'd like to show that IT is not as difficult or nerdy as people tend to believe. That it can be understood, and more importantly, it transfers easily to other disciplines. So that's one thing. Second, I really like put myself as a goal to educate, but also educate through failure, basically fighting so-called survivorship bias. So instead of focusing on another success story, which quite often is an effect of luck, focus on something that went wrong and draw real lessons that everybody could benefit from.
Absolutely.
And by and
Absolutely.
by everybody, I'd like to keep the audience as broad as possible. So one of my goals is to strip the jargon and make it understandable also for people without the technical background.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Adam, the thing is that you see, technology is used by not only all the people who know about it, but a lot of technology is used by the masses. And they don't know many a times what to do, what to have, what to not do. And especially, in times of difficulties, like a general person today is still trying to understand about cybersecurity, data privacy, and especially in a world like today, not only online, even in terms of the searches they are doing online. There are, even in terms of any search online, even on any of the, you know, chat GPTs or Claude or any of the places. So sometimes you can make any mistake and it can lead to. But the wider question is that the type of technology that we are using, the pitfalls of such technology, how does should a common man look at this? Should they believe that, okay, I am the user of technology, I'll have to take care of. But what about the other systems that the society is using, that governments are using, infrastructure is using, and they have no control over it? They are just a part of that larger system. And anything happens, they just have to bear the brunt rather than they be able to do anything about. Help us understand from that point of view, what is the role of a common person here? What can they do when they have no role to play, but still they will be the ones who will have to cope with those challenges?
So, as you said, we all use technology. I like somebody said, I don't remember who, that pretty much every disaster or incident from last 20 years involved IT in one way or another. Of course, like you said, it's not like we have impact of many of those technologies, but at least basic understanding what's going on is just, let's say, hygiene of operating in the modern society. Of course, nobody needs to be a specialist or jack of all trades, but basic understanding always helps. It's also good to understand that incidents or accidents will happen, mistakes. It's not if they will happen, it's just a question about when they will happen and what we can do to, on one hand, prepare for it. Spoiler, not much as a individual, except for the basics of, let's say, security and privacy. On the other hand, what lessons can we draw from them in order to be better at our work? Because that's also something very valuable. Somebody said, well, actually, studies show that the most efficient way of learning is learning from mistakes. And surprisingly, of course, learning from own mistakes is the most valuable, but it's not much lower in terms of efficiency of learning is to analyze others' mistakes. Of course, the consequences and scale of the disaster wouldn't be as big as when we're talking about hyperscalers like, I don't know, Facebook, Amazon, but the lessons are universal. So understanding just out of curiosity about how world works. It's a little bit like with economy. It's not like we can impact the way the stock prices behave on the market, but understanding it on a basic level is something just needed on day-to-day basis to operate in the informed fashion manner in day-to-day.
Absolutely, Adam. So, why does, such sophisticated systems, which are costly, which are well decided, worked upon, created, customized, still they can be played with either human error or by vested interest within the same system or from outside the system? Anybody can enter in, make the create problems on the within the system, and the society generally has to face it. Why does
So
that happen? Normally people think that when these systems have been created, they have been created with so much of care that it will be very difficult for anybody to, create any difficulties with for the system. How
yeah,
does this work? General
it's
people generally do not understand. They just understand that something has
Mhm.
was right and then something is wrong.
Yeah, so here we need to split the question into aspects. One is why things go wrong, and second, malicious actors. So, explaining why the malicious actors can act and attack systems will be easier once we first go into the complexity of the system. So, the scale of complexity in modern technology is beyond comprehension. It's not it's a scale that no human being can understand. A little bit of statistic. Uh, so, and I will need to use some terms for that, but I will try to do it simple. But the estimates say that entire human productivity, entire human creativity output until end of 20th century was about 5 to 10 exabytes of data. Everything that anybody ever lived, written and stored or created would be about 5 to 10 exabytes. In 2020s, that amount of data is created in less than 2 days. Exabytes is big amount, many terabytes of data. It's not important how much it is. Everybody can Google that if you want, but the scale says something. Of course, not all that data is something, let's call it valuable, worth storing for long, but it is information that needs to be somehow processed. And that already shows something. We're creating incredibly complex systems, like, for instance, I don't know, Windows is couple source code, which is basically text, is couple thousands times longer than, I don't know, entire Indian mythology. And every single character, every single variable appearing there is important. So it's very easy to miss some nuances, some edge cases. There are some funny clips online when somebody tried to ask a kid to explain how to create a sandwich step by step. And once the kid started explaining, okay, take a bread, slice it, put some jam, put some peanut butter, and so on. And the father was doing exactly according to what the kid said. He was always finding a way to mess something up. Of course, he was doing this on purpose, but that illustrates how many assumptions do we have when we try to explain model some system. In computers, that happens all the time, except we need to think about all those assumed implicit scenarios and model it. It's very easy to miss something, and that can be abused. So why this happens? Well, basically every system, everybody, everything sometimes makes mistake, and it's only about getting ready for designing the system in a way that would be resilient to human mistake. However, of course, that leads us to those malicious actors. It's very easy to, well, it's increasingly easy to leave something unprotected that somebody would figure out. In my book, I'm explaining couple scenarios like that, when sometimes somebody, I don't know, firewall rule does not check packets, sorry, for so small pieces of data that are smaller than certain size. And as a result, this can slip under the radar, like just like the, I don't know, drone under the anti-air system, and start doing the mess. It's pretty much, you could think of it as a constant race between attacker and defender. And the ancient rule says that an attacker will always be one step forward. The same goes with IT.
Absolutely. So, Adam, in terms of, you see, you talk about systems. Why do they make it so complex? Is complexity needed to protect the system so that others cannot get into it? Unauthorized people cannot get into it. What is the problem? Is complexity the problem, or is it that the attackers are much more sophisticated?
I would say it's both. One of the philosophies that's behind Linux, Unix systems, never mind, but it's much older, and right now I don't remember who said that. Of course, you would probably find that it's attributed to Einstein, but basically it's John Doe of quotes in the internet. So if you don't remember who said it, somebody will attribute it to Einstein. but never mind. The principle of making stuff as simple as possible, but not simpler. So that's very fine line to tread. But finding this level of simplicity as low as possible is difficult, especially given the fact that actually designing simple system is difficult. It's much more difficult than designing complex ones. Because if you want to design solid, reliable, simple system, that means that before you even build it, before you even start, you need to fully understand the problem that you are trying to solve. And in the modern world, with the level of complexity that both society and just physics and nature provides, it's pretty much impossible, which means we quite often create something good enough and then add layers of fixes to handle newfound edge cases, which inevitably leads to a higher complexity. And
Absolutely.
to illustrate that, it's really nice to think even about the time, which sounds like a trivial concept. Until you start looking into nuances like time zones, it's not just 1 hour offsets. For instance, India, as far as I remember, has 4.5 hours. Sri Lanka, I think, has 3 hours, 45 minutes, and so on. Then you have daylight saving times. Then you have the classic question: how long does it take Earth to circle around the sun? No, it is not 365 days. It is 365 days, 11 hours, 48 minutes, and some seconds, something like that. And even that is not fully specified because it depends on which definition we take. So the rule for leap year is complex. Then you have also leap seconds, and the level of complexity is just crazy.
Absolutely.
And then we
So,
going into different planet like Mars, and entire concept of time tracking that we have on Earth goes away. You can even check the NASA already has full modeling of tracking time on Mars and how to convert it to Earth time.
absolutely. So, for a common, you talk about, see, our life today are very much dependent on all the systems. Either it is power that we use, building maintenance that is done,
Mhm.
all are so automatic. Airports you go, flights you see, your nuclear installations, so many areas of our lives are managed through so that there is ease to do it.
Mhm.
As a common person, we use it, but then we don't know how to have a solution if there is a problem. All we have to do is to just bear the brunt of it if anything goes wrong. We keep on hearing about airlines when there is some glitch and then there is, disturbance for a quite number of times. Even in railways, other countries, many places, more systems have come into, automatic mode. From that perspective, how much normal person should know about these things and 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 be aware about these things. What are the options if these things are down for him?
So I'm tempted to say there is some basic technical literacy required just to live in the modern world. Like you need to know how to use a computer, how to find something in the internet, what information you should keep private, and so on. But the everything above that, I would say, it's just a question about how curious person you are. You need to, as to operate in the modern society, you need to be able to learn, to read, write, maybe reason to a certain extent, but you don't need to be a poet right away or be able to write another, I don't know, Lord of the Rings trilogy. This is for specialists. Similarly with IT, I strongly believe that technology should be as simple as possible for the end user. The entire complexity should be hidden away, not because it's secret. Actually, IT is one of the most open disciplines, as a matter of fact, thanks to open source. But it should be available but not required. Let's put it like that. Everything above that, let's say basic hygiene, is, I would say, optional, even if very interesting.
Right. So is AI making our world much more safer for in terms technical aspect, or it is making it much more difficult? How would you want us to understand this part?
Oh, that's a. Do we have time for another episode? Because that's quite complex question. So I like to think of AI similarly to internet in general. So AI is a tool with a certain set of limitations. I like to think that I understand some of them, most of them. However, it's important to understand that it is not a magic solution. It does have limitation. It does have own purpose. As long as we understand it, it is a great help. But the moment we forget about the limitations of the tool, that's becoming a problem. So that's one thing, and it's why I'm comparing it to internet, because internet is the same. If we understand what internet is good for, it's great. If we forget, we get propaganda, we get social media problems and everything else. So let's think of AI as a much more advanced hammer. It can be great for driving nails, but it shouldn't be used for, I don't know, operating appendix on the surgery. That's one thing. So as long as we understand the purpose and limitations, it's great, but it's also risky because it speeds up everything a lot. I already said that that the modern world is super complex beyond the ability to understand it by a single person or even group of people. AI exponentially speeds it up, which also means it also creates new situations, new edge conditions that can be abused or somebody would forget about. So from this perspective, it is a great accelerator, but also with the more speed you get, the more risk you get. So, like with a car.
Absolutely, Adam. Now let's talk about digital transformations. And when you talk about digital transformations, you say they fail because, and it's not because of technology. Why do these digital transformations fail then?
Because of huge set of cognitive traps, biases that we as a humanity, let's say, as people do. We are susceptible to many mistakes, like survivorship bias, like mixing correlation and causation, Conway's law, perverse incentives, and I could use quite a few more jargon terms, but I don't want to. And computers or technology is what we design. So basically, all those thinking patterns that are not necessarily perfect are transferred into technology. They are just automated. So usually it's a problem is in the way we understand the world and in the parts that we don't understand, even though we believe we do. If we automate our wrong thinking, it will appear in the digital world that we create. There are even entire theories about that. For instance, there is Conway law that says that any system, any software will reflect the organization structure and organization culture of a company that built this software. That's literally one-to-one, except for the fact that software being built for 10, 20 years, because that's how the modern software is being built. Every transformation, any reorganization in the company will be visible in the way the software is designed and built. It's just automating our own mistakes. And you need to remember that computers are great at doing what we tell them to do, not what we want them. It's a common joke, do what I want, not what I say, but that's exactly what computers do. They don't care about what we want, they care what we instruct them to.
Absolutely. So, in all these things, you have books also. You have got other resources also. What is the best way people can make use of your understanding, your books, make life safer, use a system safer for them?
I would say just start from my website, adamkorga.com. From there you will find a blog to get some insight into way I'm thinking, some basic philosophy. You'll find the links to social media, especially on LinkedIn. I'm quite active. You'll find a newsletter and obviously my books, where I'm trying to explain this in as accessible and attractive form as I possibly can. So lots of humor, but with a deeper message underneath. And well, so far reviews both online and from friends suggest that I like to think that I'm succeeding.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you for having me.